Sarah Owen.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk on this bill. Members may be wondering why someone representing the lovely landlocked Luton North would want to be talking about the Fisheries Bill, but it's an issue that should matter to us all, and it's an issue that many of my constituents have indeed personally gotten in touch to share their very valid and heartfelt concerns about the health of our oceans, the sustainability of our fishing industries, and the quality of our supply chains. Because it doesn't matter whether you live by the sea or in an urban area, people care where their food comes from, and they care about the people who provide it. And this is ever more an important issue as the transition period ends and concerns are rightly raised about the threats to our currently high welfare and safety standards in our food chains. If we're going to have a fishing industry in the future, this bill should have environmental protections at the very heart of it. Because smaller fishing fleets have been promised the earth by various ministers, but still they're left wanting. This bill should be a prime opportunity for the government to rectify that, and I hope it will not be an opportunity missed. Because this problem is not something new. Over 7 years ago, I joined campaigners and fishermen on Greenpeace's Arctic Sunrise. Back then, we were calling on the government to redistribute the UK's fishing quota to give a greater share to the smaller, more sustainable UK under 10-metre fishing fleets. And 7 years later, this government still failed to take any action to distribute those quotas more fairly. On the Arctic Sunrise, one fisherman broke down in tears as he talked about how his livelihood that had supported generations of his families before was no longer viable. He knew that when he hung up his nets for the very last time, there would be no one to replace him. He described the quota system as being run by a cartel. And when the largest 5 quota holders control more than a third of the total UK fishing quota, with 4 owned by families on the Sunday Times rich list, it's understandable to see why he and other fishers on under 10-metre fishing vessels feel exactly the same. 7 years after that campaign and after that conversation with the fishermen, 50% of the English fishing quota is still held by foreign-owned companies. And this is because the government chooses to give the lion's share of the fishing quota to big foreign-owned companies, including the foreign-owned super trawlers. This has a devastating impact on economies, the environment, and a loss of many historical fishing industries. And for many, fishing isn't a hobby, it's a livelihood. And as we've heard before, it is a dangerous one at that. Workers in the fishing industry risk their lives every day, and those on under 10-metre fishing vessels do so for very little reward. 6 fishers sadly lost their lives last year alone, and this bill really needs to recognise that fact and give adequate protections to those working in what has been described as one of the most dangerous occupations in this country. With all that we know and all that we have heard, it is clear that there is a serious need to redraw fishing rights to give smaller vessels a bigger share of the quota, enabling them to spend more days at sea and catch more fish. The government shouldn't be waiting for this bill or Brexit. It could act now if it chose to do so, and chose to support environmentally friendly fishing methods so that we have a UK fishing industry and enough fish in the seas to support a sustainable industry for future generations.